Thank you for shopping with POL at performanceonline.com. Today we're installing our rear coil-over shock conversion kit with Aldan Phantom Series shocks for drastic improvements in suspension and superior handling. These coilovers allow for on-the-fly rebound adjustments and can be easily adjusted from a stock ride height to a 2-inch drop. You will need a jack and jack stands, 2 3/4-inch wrenches, 2 9/16 wrenches, 2 1/2-inch wrenches, a drill, and a 3/8 drill bit.
Here's our bracketry, everything that's gonna go on it. Here's the real pride and joy. Those are beautiful. You know, these guys really take the time to dial in and do the job right. Really love their products. It's always a good install. It's simple, there's no modifications needed or anything. It's a blast. Ride quality, the adjustability, you know, of that ride quality, it's just phenomenal. You can't get much better than theirs, so Aldan America, you guys did a great job. Thanks again.
Today we're installing on a 1970s Chevelle, but the process is similar, if not identical, on many classic cars. Check performanceonline.com for more info. Jack up your vehicle and support the frame on stands with the suspension on the rear end unloaded and remove your springs.
With doing this, you also want to be careful, you know, because there is, you know, still some weight on it. When you pull it out from this end, it's going to want to spring back, so make sure that you got a good firm grip on it, and that way it doesn't take you or take off on you and come and hit you in the face. And they come out just like that.
Use your jack to support the rear end. After removing your springs and shocks, your rear end will drop down otherwise. Use a 3/4-inch wrench to remove the nut from your lower shock mount. The upper shock mount is harder to get to and impossible to see on the other side. You'll need a 1/2-inch wrench on the top and a 1/2-inch wrench on the bottom. The mount is slotted on the side nearest the rear and will slide out once broken free. Use 2 3/4-inch wrenches to remove the bolt through the trailing arm.
Put your bracket in place, slide your trailing arm back in, get your holes lined up. Roll your bracket back up, send the other bolt through, wash your nut on there.
You will need to open up the pre-existing upper shock mount holes with a 3/8 drill bit. Always use eye protection as hot metal will be falling down.
Since it's so hard to see up there and kind of a cramped quarters, I'm gonna go ahead and show you right now, you know, how everything's gonna be loaded up. Your bolt and washer will be loaded up this way. I'll hold them both in place there. Imagine, you know, you've got your piece of metal in between there, you know, where you're mounting it. So you've got your flat washer that's gonna go on, your lock washer that you'll put on there, and then your nut over the top of it.
Whenever working blind, make sure to thread your nuts on by hand, ensuring it's going on smoothly and you're not cross-threading. Use the open-ended side of your 9/16 wrench on top and a 9/16 wrench on the bottom.
If you use the box end, it's gonna get stuck in between and you're gonna have to, you know, take the loosen it back up in order to get your wrench out of there. The extremely satisfying part is putting in your new Aldan American coil-over setup. So we'll go ahead and slide this thing into place up here real quick. What's easiest, you know, when it comes to making your adjustments, you know, is having it pointed on the inside, you know, towards the pumpkin of the rear end. If you have it on the outside here, you know, it's gonna be a little bit more difficult to, when you're laying underneath this thing trying to dial your ride in. On this one, I'm gonna send the bolt through this way just because seeing the bolt head, you know, from here is gonna look a lot nicer than coming through the other way. You know, one of these things, it's just my personal preference.
Push the rear end up and send your bolt through the lower shock mount.
Use my wrench to send it in through the other side. Yeah. Washer and nut on the back side of it. 3/4. Now it's essentially at its lowest setting. You might be different in installing it. You can go ahead and, you know, put a little preload, you know, on the coil itself. The ride quality you'll get out of this setup, you know, is phenomenal. It's far greater than the factory setup could ever be. You know, no matter what kind of shocks you put on it, you know, or the coil springs, just, you know, gives you a phenomenal ride. And like I said, with having the adjustment and everything to it, it just, you really can't go wrong with it. Their bracket design and everything, it just, you know, makes this conversion a breeze. I really had a good time installing their kit. I recommend it highly.
Thank you for shopping with POL at performanceonline.com. Subscribe to our channel for more how-tos, featured customer rides, event coverage, and more. That's POL at performanceonline.com.